I know you're genius. I know you're brilliant. I know you like transform lives, transform businesses. Wayne almost died at the age of 17. Wayne, you're here,
Hi.
my friend. I love you so much.
Same
I
here.
know you're
Same here. I
genius.
feel the same way.
I I know you're genius. I know you're brilliant. I know you like transform lives, transform businesses. But at the end of the day, like he's my buddy.
Yeah, you're probably gonna find me playing Lego. Like at the end of the day, that's probably where it's gonna be. Yes.
This is
Oh,
probably why we get along. We do definitely have that in common.
yes,
Oh my
yes.
gosh. Okay. I don't love this. Wayne almost died at the age of 17. But I do love this that it's jolted him to get clear on his purpose, to empower people to be all they can be and to help them transform their lives fast. To you got that at 17?
Yeah. I mean, that's where it started. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
That's huge. You know what we don't have to talk about what I was doing at 17. It had nothing like that. Can you tell us more about that? Can you dive deeper into that? Because
So I actually had like two experiences right around that time. So one was I got caught in this land. I was doing mission relief work in Bolivia, and I was 16 at that time. We got caught in this landslide, and I thought this is where I die. And that was like the first moment where I was like, what's the point of all this? You know what I mean? Like, does it really matter? And then because I had done a bunch of trips around, different places around the world, somewhere along the way, I picked up a bunch of, parasites basically. And my friends would call me Legion because I was mini, but they were basically eating me from the inside out to the point where I'll spare you all the details, but I was at I ended up going to this international internal disease special whatever in Toronto, Canada, and they gave me this pill, that medicine, whatever, and they're like, hey, this is either going to kill you or it's going to kill them. Like that's what it came down to. I was incredibly sick, dying, all the other things going on, and obviously, I'm grateful that it killed them and not me. Yet it was a long period right there where I was like, what's this really all about? And I think having that at 17 and being face to face with death and things like that was very eye opening, right? It really kind of jolted you out of normal everyday teenage life, whatever it is, and it really gave me a lot of perspective. Yeah.
so when you say a lot of perspective, what do you think was the perspective shift that you had at 17? I have a 17-year-old son. I just I'm curious. I'm like, wow.
I was
And
also a
here,
little adventurous. I moved out when I was like 15 and a half. So I was a little odd, little
no,
adventurous, a
that's
little
brilliant.
independent.
And you know what? As a mom, it would hurt my heart that he would have to go through those experiences. But
Sure.
at the
Yeah.
same time, that journey like enlightened you. Is that
A
the right
hundred,
word?
100%. Yeah. 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 Well, I
Oh
think it
man.
helps you realize like what's important, what's not important. You know what I mean? All the things that my friends were worried about and what they spent all their time focused on just didn't seem all that important anymore.
I think travel does that to a lot of people,
Yeah.
even if they don't get a near death experience.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah,
Do you
I think
think
every 15, 16-year-old should have to do two things, maybe three. But the first is I think they should all like go somewhere to some third world country, something like that, right, to experience that what's happening. You know what I mean? To experience, to like to see poverty firsthand, but also to see the joy that people have that are living those experiences, right? Like which blows your mind. You know what I mean? How some kid with a football from 700 years ago is like thrilled, right? And the second thing I think they should all have to do is door to door sales for a year. So I think that'll teach you most of what you need in life if you do those two experiences. So
we're halfway there, and I could not. I feel the exact same way. I use the same analogy. I don't know if we can say this, but with like Mormons who
yes,
send their boys on their mission, and they
yeah,
have to go
yeah,
door to door. They come out of that. I mean, it's a joke. Nobody wants to talk to those Mormon kids, but at the same time, they come out with just amazingness.
yes. I want to hire all of them. I'm like,
All of
hey,
them.
like you're amazing. You're ethical. You've done door to door sales for 2 years. Like I'll give you a job all day long. Absolutely.
That is actually one piece of advice that my dad gave me. He said, hire Mormons. That was
Amen.
that was it. He never
Yes.
gave me an
Yes.
explanation. He just said hire Mormons. They work. Actually, he did. They work just like you said. They work hard and they're ethical. They won't lie
Yes.
or
Yeah.
cheat or steal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So here's props to the Mormons. It
Amen.
almost makes me want to be Mormon, right?
I don't think.
Are we
Yeah.
joining the church
The
or the
most.
temple?
Yeah.
What
I
do we
know.
need
I
to
know. What do we
do?
do now? What do we do? Yes. Yeah. Oh.
Okay. Next, you said Wayne has dedicated his life to develop solutions. Yes, I know this. And strategies. Yes, that make a significant impact on the quality of people's lives and businesses.
Yeah.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
How how did that come about that you created this? Because most people I know that get to that place
Yeah.
to create these systems, these processes, they had to have failed significantly. Like even though the wheel's already there,
Yeah.
like getting it to where you can articulate it and teach it to others
Yeah.
where they can not have to make the same mistakes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and like you and I talked a couple weeks ago, like there's not always a one pathway, right? Like it's different for different people, right? Like, and I wrote, when I wrote my book, The Art of Getting Back Up, one of the things I said there was like, hey, this is like what works for me. Take the piece of it that worked for you and leave the pieces that don't. Because like there's no, I don't think there's one size fits all, right? When it comes to coaching or transformation or getting back up or all that stuff, or even building a business, like there's all these different, look at you with your cool little pop-ups. So fancy. I'm impressed. Right, but like there's not a one size fits all, and I think that's what you and I are, or at least what like I think fascinates us is like you and I love hype. Like we will be the first people to get on the dance floor and whatever, right? And yet at the end of the day, like right, but at the end of the day, like we want to empower. Like I want it to stick. I want it to make an impact. I want it to land. I want you to be able to go do what you need to do, whether I'm in the frame or not. And I think that's what really gets us passionate about like what actually invokes transformation, what actually leads to a lasting impact. And it's not just one thing. It's different for a lot of people. What works for me may not work for somebody else.
So how do you find that in other people?
Man, I think that man, how do you I think that you get at least my technique is I've become a question nerd, a guru, whatever you want to call it, and I think it's peeling back to figure out who they are, right? And then doing it enough times, like, okay, that probably means we're going this direction. This probably means we're going this direction, but peeling it back, and then a little bit of its practice and trial and error as you go through it. But you can kind of feel like what drives somebody. Um, right? What do they really want? What's their core identity? What's working for them? What's not working for them? What are their key frustrations? And as you dig below those things, you begin to see, who they really are, what they really want, and what's really driving them. Once you can kind of figure some of that stuff out, and I think one of the reasons it's so tough is because most people don't know. Like it's not like you can ask someone and they know. Most people don't know, right? Most people haven't spent enough time in quiet or reflection or whatever it is to actually figure out what do they really want and who are they and what really drives. So it's not like you can ask them a simple question they can just answer you because most people don't know.
Right? They haven't spent that time in silence
Yeah, yeah,
to figure it out. I don't know. For me, that's my thing. I was like, I'm used, it took me a lot of practice to learn how to be still.
yes. How did you do it?
Um, do you want to be true transparency? Um,
There's no other way for us.
okay. I loved being hungover,
Yeah.
like incredibly hungover, because when I was incredibly hungover, I was still, I
Wow.
physically could
Yeah.
not get up.
Yeah.
And I would literally plan my hangovers. I haven't done that I
That
haven't
is
like
so
done that in
interesting.
years, but like years ago, probably when we first
Yeah.
met,
Yeah.
10, 15, like I'm like, okay. And those hangovers were the best time. They were the best times for my families. My kids knew exactly where I was because I was still and I wasn't bothering them. But I
Yeah.
would like literally stay still. And then, so now I use those moments first thing
Right.
in the morning. I
Yeah.
used to be on that,
Right.
that deal where I get up, get out of bed. Let's go, let's go, let's go, which is joyful for me, right? But I've made a point to go spend more time in that
Hmm.
place where I'm dreaming.
Interesting. Interesting. That's so.
And
And what I love about that is like that you figured out what works for you, and it may not work for somebody else. But like it's beautiful to figure that out.
Yeah. So maybe I could have skipped the hangover phase and just gone to the sleeping in, just the notch phase.
Hey, the story's way better, by the way. Like that's not going to make a chapter in a book. Like, but the whole, yeah, there you go. Yeah, you got the whole thing.
So I'm thinking like, okay, we skip the hangover, just sleep, in, just lay and daydream for just a minute, because that's what
Yeah,
people tell you not to do that.
yeah, yeah,
Like hit the ground running. Let's go.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um. So and also you mentioned you trained over 6,000 entrepreneurs. That did give you all that practice.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot. That was the best part about being in the Bold program, and being one of those coaches was 8 hours a day. I got to have those conversations. 8 hours a day, all day long. I was able to have, so to get that many at bats was beautiful, and that was such a gift. Plus, I grew up where my dad was a pastor and my mom was coaching and counseling all these people. All this other kind of stuff. So you kind of, you're exposed to a lot of conversations. So yeah, looking back, all the dots line up. I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. And in the beginning, but yeah, here we are.
So having that preacher's kid
Yeah.
explains the 15-year-old adventures,
Yes.
16, 17.
Yeah.
Also explains how, not explains, I shouldn't, that's not the right word,
It makes
but
sense of it.
how
Yeah.
you have essentially become a pastor, I would say.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, can
my
you
my dad
change?
would be so proud. Yeah, no, it was funny. Literally, we were at the tribe retreat a couple weeks ago, and it's like, how does this always turn into church? What are we doing here? And yeah, it kind of, but that kind of essence of community and real conversation and going deep that we associate with like a church environment, I think is somewhat we facilitate. You know what I mean? Real conversations, a real environment, real community, real family, and a safe place to have the conversations. And at our tribe retreat, we were having conversations around, hey, I'm struggling with these thoughts. Hey, I don't know if I can do this. And going deep in that stuff is beautiful. So to facilitate that environment is it's a little bit like a church.
It is. There's tears, there's laughter, there's joy and sadness,
Yeah,
anger.
yeah,
You have
yeah.
all the emotions,
All of it, all of it.
and you're amazing at giving people that safe space
Yeah, yeah.
and allowing people to feel safe so that
Hmm.
they can peel back
Yeah,
and heal
yeah.
and then grow from it.
Because you and I both know we don't have like, let's do it. If we're gonna do it, let's do it. So how do we facilitate fast transformations? And I love that. I love that part.
How do you facilitate fast transformations? You
I
mentioned you got good at the questions, but
I got good at the questions, and then you start to figure out kind of what works for some people, what does work for others. So it's going deep fast with the questions, getting permission, really really quickly, going deep, and then sometimes you got to do some throat punches, but in a safe place of love that allow people to move forward. And I think at the end of the day, when you can really see someone, and like the right people, like that's what they want. They
did
want
you
to.
just say throat punches?
Yeah. Well, a couple throat punches are good. Yeah, here and there.
We get them in a vulnerable space, and then we throw in a couple throat punches
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
their permission because it's
Absolutely.
really what
Yes.
we're asking for.
Yes. That's the key. Yes, exactly. What we're asking for is and here's one of the things that, and one of my mentors taught me years ago. She said, do you want me to fight? She said, do you want me to endorse your limiting beliefs, or do you want me to fight for your greatness? Oh. Do you want me to endorse your limiting beliefs? Yeah. So endorsing your limiting beliefs is like, oh, I know it's hard in the morning. I know you. It's okay. I know you're not good at this or whatever it is, right? So do you want me to endorse your limiting beliefs, or do you want me to fight for your greatness? And I think the
Damn.
people that you and I work with, they know that we're there to fight for their greatness, and there's a part of them, whether they like it or not in the moment, that's craving that.
And I have to say, I'm one of them because we have a lot of. I think it's one, we're very strong personalities, and I'm going to guess you work with a lot of very strong personalities,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people that would rather just go along with the flow than to push back,
Yeah. Yeah.
and to find that person in your life
Yeah.
who will push you, who will disagree when you're wrong,
Mm-hmm.
who will
Yeah.
tell you that you're
Yes.
wrong when you're wrong.
Yeah. Not buy into your BS. Yeah.
Not buy into your BS is ginormous And what a gift you are. So you were at Bold.
Hmm.
You became one of the top 30 under 30s. How old are you now?
42.
42. So you,
Yes.
that was over a decade ago that you accomplished
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've grown a
Yeah.
lot since then, right?
A
So
lot. A lot.
a lot. What would you say is the difference between you now and you then? Because you were one of the top coaches then.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Man, it'd be interesting to know what the biggest difference is. I think that it was interesting. Like when I won 30 under 30 before I was really a coach, you know what I mean? That was, I won that award and everything on the outside looked amazing at that time. Yet the reality is that was one of the worst years of my life. That was the year where I ended up like collapsing my entire world, right? It was one of those years where on the outside everything looked good. On the inside it was absolute turmoil. And I ended up like having an affair, crashing my business. I had all, like, hitting rock bottom. And I think looking back at that time, one of the biggest things that I recognized during that phase of my life was and I don't think I really knew it at the moment, but one was I had a lot of beliefs that weren't serving me, right? One of my beliefs was if you really get to know me, you won't love me, right? So I better get out first, right? So that was unconsciously self-sabotaging all these areas of my life. And the other belief that was so, and I think is so prevalent right now in our society is my identity was in how I looked on the outside. My identity was that, I had this many sales and this size of team and doing this and involved in this. And, it was my identity. A great way to look at it is like the stuff had me, right? And when all the stuff went away, there was nothing left. And that's when I was, hit rock bottom, ready to take my life. And I realized that I had to go. One of the most powerful things I did after that was get back in touch with who I really am in the core of me and go back to as simple as like I am statements and things like that, and
Mm,
that was huge. So you see a lot of people right now, and especially this time of year, you see so many people that are like, man, I got to do more next year, right? They just had the award ceremony. They go, hey, I did 100 deals this year. All right, I got to do 150 next year. It's like, well,
why?
because you want to and that matches your goals, or because you have to get another piece of paper next year that says you did more than the piece of paper this year. Like, what the heck are we doing? And it's because their identity is wrapped up in that piece of
Yeah,
paper or that was, and like that breaks my heart because I've been there and I know what it's like to have the money go away. And then you're like, oh, there's that was my identity. There's nothing left. And I would be lying if I said I've like mastered this. I haven't mastered, like I haven't, like I still compare myself to everybody else. I still have to work on that on a daily basis. And yet, when I can go back to my core identity, keep reminding myself of that, that's huge for me.
so what do you think is the most powerful I am statement you've got going on right now?
So it's as weird as this sounds, it's going back and seeing myself as a kid and seeing the essence of that person, and that's who I'm kind of fighting for, right? That's who I kind of am. Right? So it's going back to I am love and joy and playful and fun and excited, right? It's going back to that.
Yeah, I think uh I was blessed to be led through a meditation. I don't know
Mm,
if I shared that meditation with you,
no.
but basically it starts off, I'm walking on the cliff, you go barefoot, so you have the tactical, you breathe the fresh, crisp air, and it's kind of, but you take a look over down into the valley, and the
Mm,
first on that first little hill is a child that's playing with their toys,
mm,
right? And you look deeper and deeper and deeper, and that child is you
mm.
playing, and you have that joy from that child,
Wow.
and you take that time. It's a 45-minute meditation.
Yeah.
It was, but it's that exactly is that
Yeah.
joy
Yeah.
and that ability to be innocent as a
Yeah.
child
Yeah.
and just joy for no reason. It has changed my life, Wayne. It's just like that tapping into that joyful child. When you said that, I was like, I feel that. I feel that so much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
taking that risk. This is like, you just said something. I'm like, I'm here crying already. See, what is it about you? You're always making me cry.
Oh, it's you. It's you.
It's that ability to take those risks, and you and always do you're always doing a project.
Mm.
right?
Yep. Yep.
And I love our, like when we were talking about worth the other day,
Yeah.
self-worth, self-confidence versus self-worth,
Yeah.
and the difference that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like your ability to ask questions to help somebody gain clarity is above and beyond anybody else's. And that's why I call you when I don't understand.
Oh.
I don't get it, Wayne.
Hey, and it is so hard for us to do that for ourselves. You know what I mean? And that's why we need that person that we can have that stuff with, and ask
Right.
these questions too, and see stuff. And I think that so many of us need a safe place. I read this meme the other day. It said, "I just want somebody to love me for the asshole I am," and like that resonated so hard. You know what I mean? It's like
Oh,
that's what we all want. Like we all just want like a safe place to go, just be like, "Hey, I'm like this is me. I'm phenomenal, and I'm everything else all at the same time." And but to have that kind of place where we can have those conversations is so critical, because so many of us are trying to figure stuff out, but it's like our brain's like this pinball machine, and it's like it's just like ding 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 ding, and we're not really like we think we're reflecting, but we're not really getting anywhere, right? It's just like random thought, which often has for high achievers turns into what do they call it, the feedback loop from hell. You know what I mean? It's like I should be doing this, I should be doing this, I should be right, and it's like well, and then it's like well, I shouldn't be beating myself up, then I'm like I'm angry that I'm beating myself up for beating myself up, right? It's like it just becomes a spiral. And then sometimes we just need somebody else to be like, okay, like, all right, let's sit, 5 breaths, and what are we doing? You know what I mean? And to be able to kind of pull some of that together.
and you're amazing at that. So there's a book that you wrote. How long ago did you write this book?
So 6 years, 5, 6 years ago. Yeah. Yep.
Tell us about this book because both me and my husband read it when it first
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah. Thank you.
And thank you. No, thank you for writing this book.
Yeah.
Tell everybody about the book.
So one of the, one of my therapists said to me one time, she said the most wounded people usually make the biggest impact. And I was like, I'm going to change the world, right? right, right. I was like,
And
awesome. Right
you have.
here
Everybody
we
going
go.
through that
Here we
journey.
go.
Thank
Yeah,
you for going through
yeah,
that journey
yeah,
because we get
yeah.
to benefit from it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yes. I think she said the most screwed up people, but my interpretation. Yeah, who knows, right? But basically at that time, I made a commitment that I was trying to get back up, and I could find bits and pieces everywhere, but I couldn't find like a roadmap to get back up that really served me. So kind of my promise to the universe was like, hey, if I can get through this, I'm gonna write some of this down. I'm gonna figure out how and share with other people like the path to getting back up. How do you deal with tough times? How do you get back up? And so from all that was like, okay, I'm gonna go write this thing. And it's the art of getting back up, but really it's the 9 steps to get back up when life throw punches you, right? However you want to look at it, when life knocks you down. And what was interesting is you go back to like self doubt and all that kind of stuff. I almost gave up on it a couple times, and here's why. I would be writing it, and then my limiting beliefs, whatever it is, would start saying like, "This is not the best book that's ever been written. People have written way better books than this. Like, you're not a doctor, like you don't write whatever, right? All this kind of stuff." And so I there's so many times when I was like, you know what, I'm like, nobody needs to hear this, right? Nobody needs to hear from me, and yet I remember that someone told me during that time that like it's not your book isn't for everyone, but the people that it is for, it's going to really be for. And that's kind of what got me through it. I think that's for you and I. It's like sharing our message. Like it's not for everybody, but the handful of people that it is for, it's really, really for. And what we say will speak to somebody, in a different way than something else will. So that's what got me through it. And it's all about giving people the tools and strategies, the questions I wish I would have had, the tools I wish I would have known, to get back up when tough times show up, because they're going to show up.
Yeah, and it's funny. That's so right. And I think several months ago, he's on stage, and he said, yeah, somebody else has already said it, but they didn't say it like the way you're going to say it, and somebody
Yeah.
needs to hear your voice.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and it's so interesting because we'll have themes, and we'll have like 6 coaches come
Mhm.
in speaking on the exact same topic, and then we'll get together afterwards, right? And it's interesting. Everybody has a different coach that spoke to them that hit
Yeah.
their heart and impacted them. Same
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah. So crazy.
And I'm so grateful that you did write that book and that there's 9 steps. Can you help me remember what those 9 steps are? Can you remind me what those 9 steps are?
Man, I think in the beginning, some of the ones that hit me the most are like stop, drop, grab a tool. Right, is one of my favorite
Mhm.
steps. So it's like when you find yourself on fire, like stop running, right? Or it's like when you find yourself on fire, stop, drop, like sit down and grab a tool. Right, and the tool for me is like the questions. Right, what's the story that I'm making up? What can I control right now? What can I not control right now? What's the next right decision? So for me, it's the stop, drop, and grab a tool is huge. And then talking about am I going to choose to be a victim or am I going to choose to be a victor? Then going into all the other things that we need to do, the question we need to ask. But I think one of the biggest things that I would love for people to do is read the book before they have hard times, because part of the book is like, here's the things you need to put in place because tough times are coming. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the
Yeah.
things that I give the analogy of, if you ever got locked out of your house, and and it's not a fun experience, right? Like you have groceries, the kids are in the car, ice cream's melting, right? All the stuff, right? You have to call a locksmith, you have to go through all these things, right? Finally get into the house, then what do you do immediately, right? Then that night or the next day, you get a hidey key, or you give a neighbor a key, or you do something.
Yeah.
And I think that for high achievers, the reason that I want people to get better at this is because so many high achievers, we have those moments and we just push, but we don't pre-plan for like the next hard time. We don't write down the questions we're going to ask the next hard time. We don't get the relationships we need to have for the next hard time. And so often we're just going. But we do all these things in our physical world, like a hide key and a first aid kit, and a spare tire. Like we do all these things in our physical world, but most high achievers do so little in their mental world to pre-plan for tough times, which makes them all that much harder. Does that make sense? So it's
Right.
like I want to
Absolutely.
equip
They're
people.
mental and emotional because it all impacts them. If your emotions are quality of life is the quality of your emotions,
Yeah, yeah,
right? So you're giving us the toolbox, which reminds me, Brent Gove,
yeah.
uh, one of the tips he gave me was pay our son to read a book because that's what he did. And I said, how much do you pay your son? And he said $250. And at first I thought, man, that's a lot of money. See, same reaction.
I know. I'm like, that's amazing.
That's a lot of money. But if you think about how much money we spend on our kids, gas, insurance, cleats, clothes, soccer, like it just adds up. 250 is nothing. If they read 4 books a month, that's still
Yeah,
$1,000. Sounds
yeah,
like a lot, but if you think about all our expenses for our teenagers,
yeah,
not
yeah.
so much.
No, that's amazing. I think I'm gonna adopt. I think I'm gonna adopt that. That's really really cool.
He might have read it like 3 years ago, read it. Um, but he's 17 now, and I think he's really reading the books now, the
Yes,
ones he
yes,
likes,
yeah,
and
yeah,
because he has to write a one pager. I think there's a few that he doesn't like, and he
yeah,
probably goes on like Chat GPT or something and gets me the one pager. But the ones that he really likes, he really
yeah,
reads. It's
yeah.
worth every penny,
Absolutely,
every single
absolutely.
penny. So, what inspired? So, you were like the coach, and at that time, the number one real estate coaching company in the world at that
Yep,
time.
yep. The number one coaching company in the world at that time. Yeah, yep.
What inspired you? There was something inside of you that wanted more.
I think it was, what. So I started doing this course, and we do it every once in a while. Uh, the, uh, Basically, discover your big why, right? And it's like figure out what your purpose is and things like that. Um, so I actually wrestled with it a lot because I was like, do I want to go more in coaching? Do I want to stay in real estate? What do I do? Right? It was a big battle for me in years ago, and like it was tough. And I was like, how do I make this decision without really knowing what I want to do? So I remember there was one night where I'm sitting on the floor, and I have like books all around me, right? And there's like all these nuggets, but like I hadn't figured out anybody that I had really put it together in a concise way. And it took me a while to figure out like, what do I really want? So it was a long journey to go like, okay, what I really, really want is to invoke transformation. What pisses me off in the world is people that don't see their greatness, right? And I want to be able to expose them to that and then give them the tools. But it took me a lot of work to figure that out, which is why I wrote the course to help people do that a lot faster. But for me, that's what it was. Is like what's the best vehicle that's most in alignment with what I want to do with my life. So what I want to do with my life is, vote transformation, make an impact, be a good dad, all these other kinds of things. Like here's what I want, and then there's all these vehicles. Which one's the best one that serves that? So that was the big thing. Like it just figuring out like what I really want, like putting the lighthouse out there. Like, hey, here's what I really really want, and then what's the best vehicle that gets me there. And for me, it was coaching.
It was coaching
Yeah.
on your own topics,
It
your
was it was
own course,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
own people.
Because I looked out there and I looked at like joining somebody else and going. I was going to go just go work for somebody, right? So I looked at all these different coaching companies, and there's a lot of great ones out there, right? There's a lot of
Oh
really
yeah.
good coaches out there. A lot of them that I admire, I call friends. I mean, there's a lot of great ones. And I felt the most, especially at that time, there was so much like in the box coaching, which I think there's a time and a place for, but there's so much like, especially where we used to be, it was like, this is the path to success. This is the way. And it was like this, it's kind of like, hey, everybody does this in order to get to success. And that just didn't resonate with me. I was like, there's multiple ways to do it. And your goals, well, I love you. Your goals are wildly different than most people, right? Right? You're like, hey, we're getting an RV and we might come back. I don't know, right? Like I'll send you a postcard from Argentina. Who knows where you're going to be tomorrow? You know what I mean, right? But like it's different for everybody. And so I started my own because like I believe that everyone deserves to have a custom tail. I believe everyone deserves to be clear on where they want to go and have a custom tailor built map to get there, right? Not a one size fits all, not right. There's principles and things that are universally true. Yet I think everyone deserves to have a custom plan and a map to get where they want to go.
And I think what you do so beautifully, and I think a lot of people that have been beat down and told to get back on the path, is that you give us permission
Yeah. Yeah.
to follow that dream. Not all, because so many times you're an explorer. You go and you do crazy and wild things.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people in your life, the people that mean the most to you, that have
Yeah.
your best interest at heart,
Yeah.
are the ones that say, stay safe, don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why
They
would
want to
you want to
protect
do
you.
that? They're
Yeah.
there to
Yeah.
protect you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love that you don't disregard them, but at the
Right.
same time, you somehow manage to give us permission and a
Mm-hmm.
plan. Tell me about the people that you have impacted, like the businesses, and you don't have to know who they are, but like
Yeah.
the things like we took up this from here to here, here to here, here to here.
Well, I think so often people reach out to me when it's really interesting when they hit two places, right?
Yeah.
Either they hit a ceiling that they kind of keep bumping their head up against. They go, I know I'm better than this. I know I'm smarter than this. Like they keep it at the ceiling and they want to break through it. Or what's interesting is the other group of people that reach out to me a lot are people that are really successful, and yet they go like, I'm not thrilled with where I am. Like I'm supposed to be happy. Everybody thinks I am. The outside looks amazing, but something's not clicking. Either it's like fulfillment or freedom or fun or whatever it is. So like those kind of things. And then sometimes people call me when they're in real crisis. I mean, I remember years ago that one of my clients who I love very dearly, still work with him. He called me and he goes, I'm the number one agent, in my state. I'm losing 60 grand a month. I don't know what to do. Fortunately, within 30 days, he's net positive, and now he's doing amazing things. But those kinds of situations, I think like to your point, people call me when they need a safe place to have like those kinds of conversations, right? Like everything looks good on the outside, we're crashing and burning, or like, hey, everybody left my team last week. What do I do? Those kinds of scenarios as well. And then there's the people that go like, I don't want to make any more money, but how do I be a better mom? Like, how do I get time with my kids, or what does this look like? So I think people come when they're trying to get through, they're trying to win a battle that they know other people have already won, but they're trying to figure it out for themselves, or they recognize that there's more within them than showing up.
And I have, in my real estate journey, I feel like I have been at every one of those positions at one point.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And yes, I remember that. I remember when that was. I remember when that was. I remember when that was. I know that's where I'm at now, right?
Yeah.
Like I know
Yep.
exactly. I see it. And what's so interesting is we used to be part of this big, not real estate community of team leaders who
Yeah.
were probably doing roughly all of us probably doing over 50 transactions a year, 50 to
Yeah.
hundreds, right?
Yeah.
And they thought I was doing well just because I made a profit every month.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was, I didn't know any better. I just thought that's what you were supposed to do. It
Yeah.
turned out so many didn't. And my husband, my sweet, sweet husband, recognized that the common denominator for most, so not most, so many people were these
Yeah.
divorces, failing marriages,
Yeah.
alcohol problems, so much distress.
Yeah.
And we did not know how to navigate that as well, because we
Mhm.
didn't have a lot of examples of people who were able to
Yeah.
do it without a divorce,
Yeah.
without alcohol, without
Yeah.
marital angst. We just had a lot of people who really focused on gross commissions, income, and transactions count. And that's what our industry had taught us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for the people, that we've gotten to know who believe that you can have other dreams and aspirations and build a
Absolutely.
big business and make
Yeah.
a lot of money, impact a lot of people, have an amazing marriage, have
Yeah.
a relationship with your children.
Well, and I think so much of it comes down to the relationships, like the environments you put yourself into, and the vehicles you pick. You know what I mean? Like you and I both chose the EXP vehicle, and I think what's great about that is it serves so many of the things that we wanted to do, and it helps our clients serve that, right? And it's not right for everybody, but like that's the vehicle you pick is huge. Like here's where I want to go. What's the best vehicle? Do I want to go in a dinghy or do I want to go in this beautiful yacht? Right? Like what's the best vehicle to get you there? And then the relationships, like you said, I think we've both been. I would say we've been fortunate, but I would also give us the credit. Like we put ourselves in the environments to get throw punched, right? Right. We put ourselves in the
Right.
environments where people are like, "You suck at. I love you, but you're sucking at this, right?" Or whatever it is. So like
Yeah.
we've done that, and we've held ourselves to that, and then had grace with people as they change. But I think that's a huge piece of it. Is what's the environment? And like to your point, look around, and if all of your look at you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with, which is very true, but it's not just true in money. Right? Who are the 5 people you hang out with? What are the relationships like? The
Mm.
5 people you hang out with the most, what are the relationships with their kids like? The 5 people you hang out with, like, what's their health like? What's that? So it's all of that. And I think it's continually putting ourselves in environments that stretch us from a place of like grace and recommitment and all that.
We were just talking about,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
literally this morning over coffee when I was greeting the sun. Tell us about your next event that I think is going to be so impactful. I've been to your events for team leaders before that was so impactful. When is your next event? And tell us how we get to be a part of
So
that.
one of the next really cool things we're doing is we're doing a leadership training that's basically teaching team leaders how to be phenomenal leaders, right? Like the questions asked, like because most people are like, hey, I sold a bunch of houses, now I'm going to start a team. It's like cool, right? But like they like so it's literally 2 days with me. It's like 8 people, and it's like it's an intensive, which is amazing. So it's like I'm teaching them to be phenomenal leaders and coaches. Here's the questions you ask on a weekly basis. Here's how you get to know your people. Here's how you motivate them. Here's how you dive in. Here's the things you need to be a phenomenal leader. Right. Here's how you attract people. Here's how you retain them. Right. But it's all about phenomenal leadership and doing a deep dive into that. It's 2 days. It's here in Dallas at the end of April, and that is one of the most. I love that event because it's such a small group of like 8 people, and it's very empowering. They walk away knowing exactly what to do and how to be the leaders that they've always wanted to be, but didn't necessarily have like the tools to be able to assist with that. So a lot of
Ah.
that's like here's the tool, here's the model, here's the thing. So a lot of it's that, which is really empowering.
So basically, you're just giving them entire everything that you've learned, entire framework, because and a lot of times, I don't know about you, what I have found is that there's a tool here, there's a tool here, there's a tool here, there's a tool here, there's tools everywhere and resources everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Here's what yeah, we bring it all the way. And it's like, hey, here's the 20 years of tools in a concise way. Here's how to use them. Yeah, it's because mindset, skill set, tool set, right? Like I teach that all the time. You can have anything you want if you get those 3 dialed in. Your mindset, and the second one is the tool set. Like, do I have the right tools, right? But you might have the right tool, but if you don't have the skill set to use the tool's kind of. It's like one thing to have a skill set, it's another thing to know how to use the thing, right? So, but
Right.
I believe if you have the right mindset, skill set, and tool set, you can do anything. So it's all 3 of those, and putting those together is life
Oh,
changing.
I've never heard it put that way. I love that mindset, skill set, tool set. What do you think
Yeah.
most people are lacking as leaders?
So I think if we go all the way underneath it, it's if you have the right mindset, you'll probably find the right tool and find the right, and learn how to use it. Right. So I think so much of it comes down to mindset. But I think that's such an it's just such a broad stroke. You know what I mean? I think that you usually have to unpack it. So I think it all comes down to mindset. But so much of it is also like teaching people how to use the tool, right? Teaching them okay, here's how to ask these questions. Here's how you have all the enthusiasm in the world, but if you don't have any of the skill, it's tough.
If there was something you could tell yourself now, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
then, if you could tell yourself, your 15-year-old self,
Mm.
what would you go back and tell your 15-year-old self? And appreciating the journey that you've
Yeah.
been on.
I think a concept one of my coaches introduced me to last year was grace with recommitment. Like grace with more grace leads to complacency and leads to like giving up, right? Like if you just always give yourself grace, like, oh, I didn't get up on time, cool, right? I didn't get up on time again, cool. Like if it's just grace with more grace, right? If it's just grace with everlasting grace, right? It sounds like a hymn, right? It's just like it leads to failure and complacency. But
Right.
but also on the other side, where you and I'm guessing you've lived, and I know I've lived there, which is just like beating yourself up, beating yourself. I'm never right. It's never enough. Do more. You can do more. Right. We're just like this constant beat. Grind it out. Right. All this other aspects. And like neither one of those is really healthy. But it's like I don't want to be complacent. Right. So I'll go for the grind it and beat myself up all day long. But neither one of those really work for me. Right. It's like this thing I give up and I'm a failure. This thing I feel like crap all the time. Right. Like what knows.
It
So
doesn't
for
work for
me,
anybody for an extended period of time. It's not right.
no.
It's not a
But beat no, but beating yourself up works for a while, and then but like you said, it doesn't get you where you want to go. So for me, the concept of grace with recommitment is beautiful. Grace means like, man, okay, this today, last week wasn't great, right? But here's the things I did good. Here's the things I'm going to do different, and tomorrow here we go. Here's the two things I'm putting in place, right? So it's like grace with like give yourself compassion and love, and I'm doing the best I can at any given moment. And here's the commitment, right? Here's the 1% better. Here's the 2% better. I'm going to get accountability here. I'm going to set 2 alarm clocks. I'm going to what, right? So that theory of like grace with your commitment to me is so beautiful because it allows you to have the mentality of being your best friend, right? My best friend, right? One of my best friends is Tyler, and like Tyler will either like give me a hug, give me a hand up, or kick me in the tail, right? But like he knows which one I need. If I call him and go, man, I'm having a rough day, he'll give me 30 seconds or 2 minutes to complain, and then it's like and right, like, okay, what are we doing, you know what I mean? But like that mentality of like how do I like that, I think that's such a beautiful thing. So I think if I could have been my best friend instead of been like the judger, and I think that would have been a beautiful thing to articulate to 15-year-old me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you. As a mom, I appreciate that. And as
I
your
love
friend, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm so grateful for your friendship and what you do for our community and everything. I mean, there's been so many times along the road where like you've been there and you didn't even know the impact you made in that moment, right? And you're impacting so many people in that way. It really is beautiful. So to know you is to love you, and to be in your world is a beautiful thing. And I'm excited for someday down the road for you to get a glimpse of like all the little impacts you made. It's pretty huge. You and Juan have had a huge impact on thousands of lives, whether you recognize it or not. So thank you for all you're doing. Seriously,
Oh, wow. That means a lot. I'm not
yeah,
crying. Thank you. I love you so much.
seriously.
Thank you.